This is the METS Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Just like the opener in Baltimore, the Mets needed some late inning magic, scoring 7 runs in the final 2 innings to defeat the Royals in the opener by a final score of 8-3. Welcome in to a little Mets Postcast after dark here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. Your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. A little bit of a rain delay, about 90 minutes delaying the start of this one. No problem for the New York Mets, who peaked late in this ball game to win the first one by a final score of 8-3. You thought that we were going to be singing a similar tune of an offense with an inability to drive in runs, chance after chance, multiple chances with the bases loaded. You thought that was going to be the top story. Instead, we get to talk about an offense that broke out in a big way. And yes, perhaps the return of the swag, and that is where we will start tonight's postcast.
This is what you'll be talking about.
As a podcaster, video host, media member, I think at times we can overreact to one at-bat or one moment in a game over the course of a long season, whether it's in this sport that we talk about on this program, baseball, or any other sport. I think we can tend to overreact at times. I don't think it is overreacting to discuss what that at-bat could mean for Mark Vientos for the rest of the season, what it could mean for this offense, which clearly needs more than just the 4 guys at the top. Mark Vientos with the biggest hit in this game in the 8th inning, stepping up with the bases loaded, the Mets trailing 3-1. And you're watching this game script play out. The Mets get a solid start in Kodai Senga's return. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. They turn things over to the bullpen, and a 1-0 lead all of a sudden in the blink of an eye becomes a 3-1 deficit. And the Mets are backed against a wall, and they need their offense, which has been up and down, a roller coaster outside of the Fab Four, need them to come through. And you're worried that once again, we'll talk about not being able to come through in the big moment, not being able to hit with runners in scoring position. And it sets up where the Mets load the bases. That top part of the order loads the bases in the 8th inning. Pete Alonso steps up first, strikes out swinging. You're thinking to yourself, oh no, here we go again. A bases loaded jam that is going to go to the wayside. A chance to get back into this game. The Mets are going to let it slip through their fingers. Mark Vientos steps up, and after smacking his bat, breaking it into pieces earlier in the game after striking out, delivers a RBI bases clearing double into the right center field gap. He needed that. The Mets needed that. We all needed that. That gave the Mets a 4-3 lead. You're worried about them trying to hold on to that 4-3 lead. Well, in the 9th inning, they tacked on some insurance runs. Our shortstop, Francisco Lindor, delivers the blow that breaks things open. He makes it 7-3 with a 3-run homer. Him and Juan Soto go back-to-back. Soto adds the exclamation point with his 22nd home run of the season as the Mets score 7 runs in the final 2 innings of this one. Mark Vientos tonight in this game, 2 hits, had the bases clearing RBI double, and you could just tell how much it meant to him to have that big hit. And that could be the weight lifted off of his shoulders. That could be the moment. Ronnie mentioned it during the broadcast that 1 hit could feel like 5 hits. Those 3 RBIs could feel like 10 RBIs because of how much of a struggle it has been for Mark Vientos. And we all know the player that he can be. We all saw who he was last year as a middle of the order bat. This team in the postseason batted Mark Vientos in the 4 spot in the postseason. That's how good he was last year. That's how much they believed in him as a player, how good he was last year. And so that potential is still in there. Good to see him tap into tonight. And hopefully it is the thing that frees him up to be able to go back to being Swaggy V. That's why for the thumbnail on the YouTube video, I made sure to get a Swaggy V photo, not from tonight, but we got to have one with him wearing those glasses because that could be the moment that unlocks it for him. So I don't think it's an overreaction to say that could be the thing that breaks out. He had a couple of nice at-bats in the first game of the Baltimore doubleheader, where he had 2 hits. So now it's 2 of the last 3 games where he's able to have multi-hits. Tonight, an impactful hit, a hit in a big moment coming through with runners in scoring position. So it does feel a little bit like a snowball moving downhill for Mark Vientos. And so hopefully this allows us to see that postseason Mark Vientos, that second half or basically all of 2024, once he was called back up version of Mark Vientos. The offense, a big night tonight. Only the 8 hits, but they scored the 8 runs. The top of the order does what the top of the order does. They combined here. Let's do some quick math. Lindor with the 3 RBIs, Soto with an RBI, Pete with an RBI. That's 5 of the 8 RBIs from the top 4. Vientos adds to 3. Still all those concerns about the bottom of the order. McNeil 0 for 4. Mauricio only drew 2 walks, but he was 0 for 2. We're going to table those for tonight because the Mets won a baseball game. The Mets had an offense that came through. They got the big hits from the Fab Four. And again, every night you expect one of, or you hope for one of the bottom part of the lineup to come through and help out. It was Mark Vientos tonight doing that for the New York Mets. As instead of us talking about a third straight loss, and it certainly did feel like that was the way it was trending, it is a series opening win for the New York Mets, who, if you kept tabs tonight, the Padres beat the Phillies, so the Mets draw within a half game of the Philadelphia Phillies for the top spot in the National League East. We will talk about Kodai Senga's return to the mound for the New York Mets, only giving the team 4 innings. We'll talk about the good and bad from that performance. Your thoughts, as always, and the stuff to keep an eye on, all of it here on the other side. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. You're always going to talk to a real person. And for those trade pros out there looking for an extra edge, they've got their free Trade Master program that has exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Have you ever decided at the last minute you want to head to the ballpark for a ball game with friends or family? Perhaps you wake up, it's game day. Suddenly you realize, I got to be in the stands. I got to be in those seats. I got to be there for the game. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. The easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. They make buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. They've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. The seat view feature, easily my favorite feature of the Game Time app. Right there in the app, before you buy, you can see exactly the view you're going to have from your seats. You know exactly where you are going to be. They've got last-minute tickets and zone deals. They're also the official ticketing partner of Lock On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming game. Perhaps you want to get involved with the Mets in the second half of 2025. Game Time has you covered. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Back here on the Mets Postcast After Dark on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed, as the Mets defeat the Kansas City Royals in the opener of this series by a final score of 8-3. It was Kodai Senga's return to the mound, his first start since the beginning of June, coming back from the hamstring injury. Gave the Mets 4 shutout innings, 4 strikeouts, the 2 walks, did allow 4 hits, 67 pitches, lowering his season ERA to 1.39. I thought overall, all things considered, a good return to the mound for Kodai Senga. Not a perfect return to the mound for Kodai Senga. Obviously, you want more length. Obviously, you want to see him avoid those early inning issues, scenarios, base traffic, really the concern for Kodai Senga. You knew he was going to be under a little bit of a pitch count, through about 68, 70 pitches in his final rehab start before returning to the club. So you knew 75, maybe they would push him to 80 if the situation arose, but that was never really going to be in the cards for Kodai Senga, and it's in part because he just never could have that clean inning. First inning allows India to get on base via the infield single, then the double, so he's working out a second and third and nobody out. He's able to work out of that jam. In the second inning, this really is, I think, the big offense from Kodai Senga's start tonight. The thing he just has to be able to not have happen in the future. Walks to the 8 and 9 hitters with 2 outs. Just can't have that. You have an opportunity to have a clean inning there, a chance to have a 1-2-3. Now we're talking Kodai into the 5th, potentially into the 6th inning in this game, giving the Mets length, shortening the game, less that they have to ask of their bullpen. As we've seen, it's been a little shaky as of late. But instead, you walk the 8th and 9th hitters with 2 outs, allowing the top of the order to roll over. Fortunately, you get out of that jam there in the second. So that's really the nitpick that you would have from this game, is if that second inning goes differently, perhaps Kodai is able to finish 5 innings and pick up a win. Perhaps maybe he's able to go into the 6th inning, because he had a 1-2-3 4th. So he was able to have 1-1-2-3 inning, ended on a good note. But again, just those early problems of base traffic and not having those clean innings just really doomed him from the start of being able to give the Mets length and to go deep into this game. But good to have him check this box off. Now he can go into the All-Star break, take some time off, and be ready to gear up for the second half. So good that he got through this start no problem. Good that there were no setbacks. Good that everything seemed to be okay, and then he was able to check all of those boxes for the Mets. So from that perspective, I think we would call it a perfect return for Kodai Senga. Other stuff to keep an eye on. I was a little concerned here before he hit the home run in the 9th inning. I don't know if others saw this, but when Juan Soto scored on the Mark Vientos bases clearing triple, anybody else get a little concerned with the grimace that Juan Soto had when he was walking back to the dugout? Was it just me noticing that? Was I overreacting? Was I thinking too much about it? Clearly, after he hit the home run, he was fine. But there was a brief moment in time, he fouled the ball off his leg earlier in the game, and so maybe that was front of mind for me when it happened. But when he slid into home plate, he kind of got up, and it just didn't look like he was not all smiles. Looked like he kind of had like a grimace on his face. I was a little concerned for just a second. That concern went away after he hit the home run in the 9th inning. I think all things are okay. Glad that this is not a talking point from this game, but I feel like it is my duty to discuss it. Brendan Nimmo can't dive for that ball in that spot. You have an offense that's struggling as a whole here, and it's a 1-0 game. You have Salvador Perez as the base runner. Let that thing fall in front of you. Don't dive for it. Just keep the ball in front of you. Give Perez second base. He's not going to third on a ball that's hit right in front of Nimmo, in front of third base. You limit it to a single. No harm, no foul. You're trying to protect a 1-run lead. Instead, you dive, you miss the ball that goes behind you. That sets up Perez to be able to score. That ties the game. You're worried with what you've seen from the offense so far, because the Mets let a bases loaded jam go by the wayside earlier in this game, where their only run up until that point was on a bases loaded walk. I thought that was going to be our big story tonight, that the Mets scored 1 run and it was all a walk, but not even a hit with runners in scoring position. Pete Alonso drew a walk to score the Mets at that point, lone run of the game. So the offense wasn't doing a whole lot. So you got to protect a 1-run lead in that spot. So glad that didn't come back to haunt the Mets in this game, but certainly in the moment felt like it was going to be something that came back to haunt this team. Great play by Hayden Senger and Jeff McNeil to snag a runner at second base. Tolbert, who had been perfect so far this season, stealing bases. Good job by Jeff to hold that tag on the entire time, and Tolbert popped up off the base. They're able to get it out there. Thought defensively, the Mets played pretty well tonight as well. Ronnie Mauricio made a couple of nice plays, and he's really been playing a solid third base. So hopefully that bat can kind of pick up and he can be more consistent, because the defense plus the bat speed plus that power that we've seen him have on a regular basis, or on a semi-regular basis, if he's able to put that together, the Mets are going to be able to see Ronnie Mauricio hit that potential that we all think he can have. It is Frankie Montas going tomorrow for the New York Mets. They will go for the series win. And they will look to take that series win into the All-Star break. Before this series began, you asked me what would have been the ideal outcome for the New York Mets. It would be a series win. Would I like a sweep against a team that's below 500? Yes, but a series win ending the first half on a good note, going into the All-Star break, potentially back in first place or at least right there in the NL East. I think we would consider that a really good first half of how bad the back part of June has been. The struggles here a little bit at the start of July, I think we'll take it. That opportunity is right in front of the New York Mets with Frankie Montas on the mound tomorrow. We'll let Ray have the last word tonight here on the Postcast. He says, Chris, Senga plays with dynamite every inning. Yeah, I mean, that's the concern, right? That's the really one takeaway that I have from Senga's start tonight, because I think the stuff looked fine. He had the ghost fork working, had the fastball, had the life on that pitch. So the stuff was good. The stuff was fine. It's just he seems to work himself into these jams and then has to do a Houdini act to get out of them. And so we've seen him this season. We've seen it. What happens when he can be efficient? He can play to the ground ball. He can mix in the strikeout. That start out in Sacramento where he went 7 innings and was really super efficient. So we know it's in there. We know he can do it. We know when he's able to just trust the defense behind him and play to more ground balls than trying to be a strikeout pitcher, he can have that type of success. Tonight, I think he was knocking off some rust, right? It had been basically a month since he last stepped on a mound at the big league level. We know he is very specific about his craft. I mean, he's just so meticulous, so detailed. Everything is just gone over with a fine-tooth comb. And so it just felt like he had a really good feel, I think, internally of pacing himself and understanding what was going wrong, what was going right. Again, it was not going to be a case where he was going to be able to give you 85, 90, 95 pitches. They don't push him that much on a regular basis anyway, but certainly coming off of the injury with the All-Star break right around the corner, they weren't going to push it too far tonight. He gave you 4 scoreless. You got to get him off the mound on a good note. You turned it over to your bullpen. By the way, stuff to keep an eye on. Alex Carrillo, I know he gave up the 1 run, but seems to be a player for the New York Mets, and he gave him 2 innings tonight, so gave him some bulk there out of the pen. So the Mets undergoing a little bit of a roster churn right now, moving guys in and out of this bullpen, and maybe they've got some options. And Alex Carrillo, at least to me, feels like he could be something for this bullpen with that changeup, with that slider, that fastball that plays nearly 100 miles an hour. So he's got some weapons out there in that arsenal that could play for this bullpen down the stretch. And we know they certainly could use some extra options out there. But the potential return of the swag tonight for the New York Mets, Mark Vientos delivers the big hit to put the Mets back in front in the 8th inning. Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto break the game open and put the exclamation point on it in the 9th as the Mets score 7 runs in the final 2 innings to take the first game of this series in Kansas City to move to 54-41 on the season. Let's just do a quick check of the standings here. A half game back as we go into tomorrow. Half game back of the Philadelphia Phillies in the NL East. That is going to do it for us here on this edition of the Mets Postcast. Appreciate all of you staying up late through the rain delay with us here and joining me post-game to break things down here on the program. We are back tomorrow to break down Frankie Montas to start the second game of this series. Hopefully the Mets can pick up that series win. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that you are notified when we are live. If you're listening to us next day in the podcast feed, come on out, join us live after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. The Mets pick up a much-needed victory. They snap their losing streak at 2, and now they will go for a series win tomorrow. Have a good one, Mets fans.